Alright, was it just me, or did you guys also have war flashbacks to trying to order a PS5 while trying to watch this first episode of Attack on Titan's final season? Well, the second half of its final season. I swear every time this show premieres, it breaks the internet. But with that said, hello everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to one of our weekly Attack on Titan final season discussion videos. We've taken a bit of time off between parts 1 and 2. Also, apologies if I do not sound really hype. I'm just also very sick, so I cannot bring the same hype as usual. But we are here to talk about the final season, part 2, episode 1, Judgment. But before we get to the video proper, quick reminder if you haven't done so yet to boop that up snoot. Let's be bold. Let's try to say that, let's try to aim for 100 likes. 100 likes before the end of the day. Let's see if we can do that. If we do that, then I will announce our success in next week's episode. But with that said, let's go ahead and dive into this thing. So, beginning right away, there's three things that I feel like we have to zero in on. And this isn't including the OP and ED, which I will talk about later. But we should probably talk about Eren versus Marley, because it was literally just Eren, essentially. Like, Eren's troops were there, but they barely helped. So it's Eren versus Marley, Zeke and Levi's aftermath, and the scouts sort of regrouping. And of course, OP and ED, we'll talk a little bit about that later. But for the most part, Eren versus Marley is, it starts pretty much how you'd think. Like, Eren, we pick up, during that scene, we pick up right where the last episode, the mid-season finale had left us off, with Eren just looking up into the sky, seeing Marley approach, and knowing that Reiner was there. And, it's pretty freaking great. Like, seeing Eren choose to fight at a disadvantage, because he's Eren friggin' Yeager, and he'll just do that shit, is great, right? Eren looks down, he hears, Yelena, telling him, you have to run with us, you have to protect the Warhammer Titan, you gotta protect the Founding Titan, you gotta leave. Or you gotta, come out of the leave your Titan and let's go. And Eren, looks at her, and then looks up, at the Marley ships, and he's just yeah, nah. And he just walks off, right? And he starts walking towards, the blimps, and he's just casually strutting up, and he's like, alright, let's do this, Reiner. Right? And as he says that, Reiner's, falling out of the ship, and he bites down, he's like, alright, let's do this shit. Well, Reiner doesn't even bite. He actually preemptively slashed his hand. So he's like, okay, let's do this. And it's Eren versus Reiner round, I don't even know what anymore. I have lost count. I think we're at, round 5. And still never really gets old. Every time these two fight, I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of hype. So yeah, this is, the however manyth round that these two have, gone toe-to-toe. And it's a pretty gnarly-ass fight. Before we even get to that, though, we have to talk about the fact that Eren comes face-to-face yet again with Galliard as well, who has shown up to help. I also like the way that Galliard, helps Peek out. So Peek is like, Galliard, help! Right? Because she can't transform yet. She doesn't have a cut or anything. So Galliard's like, got it! And he just, sweeps the leg, and he chops off Peek's hand, nearly hits Gabby, although fuck me, I wish he did hit her. And Peek's like, what the hell? Right? Because she cut off his head. He's like, that hurt. And she falls off, and then falls off the side of the building, and then, becomes the horse titan, or the cart titan, or whatever it is. I don't remember what they call it. The cart titan, I think, is accurate. So becomes the cart titan, and then, picks up Gabby, and they hightail it the hell out of there. And it's just kind of cool to see all the Titans back. And I gotta say, I'm sure some people would be like, oh, but the CG. I don't dislike the CG when it comes to Mappa. I think that it's been perfectly fine. And I will say, here, they look great. I thought that they looked super cool. I can still tell it's 3D. 3D is always gonna have a little bit of jank. I can still tell it's 3D. But the way that it moved, I was perfectly fine with it. I was like, hell yeah. As long as you keep doing this blend of 2D, mostly 2D, with 3D to just sort of help out and help add some weight to the scene, I'm perfectly fine with that. I think Map is doing a perfectly good job. And the fight between Eren and Reiner, and kind of Galliard too, it's very indicative of that, right? When we see the fight really breaking out, Eren seems to have Reiner on the ropes for the most part, but then Galliard just rocks up and it becomes this sort of like for a second you think they're gonna be able to kind of put him on the ropes, but Eren has become way more OP since he's gotten the Warhammer Titan's powers. He can just create those spikes everywhere, and he's just impaling dudes left and right until friggin' Magath just snipes Eren from a distance on top of Peak, because again, Peak turned into the Car Titan. There's also a great scene, by the way, that I forgot to mention, where Magath, Colt, and Gabby all sort of have this reunion, and Magath hugs Gabby, and I was happy for his character, but I'm still team screw Gabby. I don't like this character. So I was like, whatever. I don't really care much about Gabby. But it was cool to see Magath get like a moment to be like, look, he's like a human, right? He's like he's not a nice person, but he has a heart, right? And Colt is like, runs out like, where's my brother? And I was like, oh, Colt, man, what's going on? Like, I totally forgot about Colt. I was like, oh yeah, I like Colt. So it was cool to see Colt show up and be like, where's Falco? Like, where's my brother? And Gabby's like, oh yeah, he's still at the building. And I'm like, oh yeah, shit, I like Falco. It's like, uh-oh, that's not good. But yeah, like, so the gang kind of, it seems like they have Eren on the ropes, because they managed to like hit Eren right through the skull and sort of stop his motor skills for a second. So Eren's just kind of standing there. But even with him standing there, he's still a menace. Like the way that he's just like, he's essentially like me, you know, he's just a corpse puppet, just kind of standing there. And then as Galliard goes in, spikes out the friggin' floor again, and Galliard can't get anywhere near him. So it's up to Reiner, who grabs one of the spikes and just jams it into the dude. And you get this beautiful line of dialogue that I loved, where Reiner says that everybody has suffered enough, including Eren, and to just let him end it here, right? And he like he stabs Eren with his own spike, and Eren lets out this big loud battle cry as he's like kind of shrieking in pain. And it's sort of where we end that part of the fight. We end the episode at that moment where Eren's just screaming, and I'm struggling to find a way where he's gonna walk away from this, because it's like, dude, they have you cornered. Like the only way he's getting out of that is if Zeke shows up somehow. But I feel like there's still a pretty long ways away from getting to Zeke, or from Zeke getting to him rather. And again, the whole point of this final season has literally been like, do not let Zeke and Eren meet up. Like if you let Zeke and Eren meet up, it's all over. And I think the only other way I can think of is, yeah, if Zeke gets to Eren and they can do like the rumbling, which I'm not gonna lie, every time people say like, man, the rumbling, right? Like, oh, that's so cool. My brain is just like, I have a rumbly in my tumbly. I just think of Winnie the Pooh, so it kind of deflates a little bit. But it's still a cool name. The rumbling just sounds cool, but my brain is just like, oh, Winnie the Pooh. Sorry. But no, this fight is super great. And as much as I don't really like a lot of the Marley characters, like I like Peak, Reiner is obvious. It's Reiner. We've had Reiner forever. A lot of those characters I don't really like, but I've really enjoyed the way that they've like shown that like not like Marley's not like evil, right? Like they're people on that side. Like when Peak says like, did you really think, like when Peak's like, I thought you betrayed us, and Peak's like, I don't trust in Marley, I trust in my friends, right? And it's like it's that sort of moment that I like for characters on that side of the fence, where it's like, okay, I like, even though I don't like those characters very much, I like that they are fleshed out and like show that they're not evil, right? Peak I like a lot, and like Colt and Falco and them, like I like them, but I don't love them like I love the other characters. But speaking of Zeke, right? Zeke's another one that is a whole other can of worms. In fact, let's get into it. So we have the Zeke and Levi aftermath, right? And I'm just gonna go ahead and point out that after, like, when that happened, I remember when Zeke like pulled the thunder spear and Levi tried to jump out of the way, and everyone's just like, no, dude, he's dead. And I was like, I refuse. Right? I was like, no, I refuse. There's one way that man. There's only one way Levi will ever go out, and it's killing Zeke. Right? Like, that's, as far as I'm concerned, that's the only way Levi is allowed to go out. I refuse to let Levi die otherwise. Look, I already lost my one husband. I don't need to lose my second one. So I was like, no, Levi is not dead. Although when we see him, he don't look good. He looks, I'm not gonna lie, he looked pretty dead. Like, I was pretty convinced that he was dead. Cause like I refused right? Because, like, even though I'm like, I refuse, my brain was like, that dude, if he's alive, that's a shock, right? And I was like, yeah, I know, but is Levi, though, right? I can't help it. Levi's the GOAT, right? And, of course, friggin' worst boy, Flock, right? Is just like, oh, let me see the body. I don't believe. I'm like, piss off, Flock! God, you are such an asshole. I will cheer when you die. I promise you. I remember when friggin' I covered this last season, not last season, a few seasons ago, and everyone's like, "Oh, you don't know that. You don't know that." Bet. I guarantee you, nothing Flock does will redeem him to me. I will cheer when the bastard is dead. Right? Like, I will cheer. There's certain characters who I don't care. I will cheer when they die. And Flock is one of them, and Levi sure as hell is not one of them. So when Levi died, you better believe that died, quote unquote, you better believe I was emotional. Because here I am thinking my boy's gone, and I'm upset about it. But he's not really dead. Because, yeah, it's kind of clear the way that Hanji was speaking, like, the Thunder Spear killed him instantly. And Flock's like, ooh, I could check a pulse too. And I'm like, Flock, you probably couldn't even start a fire if you rubbed two sticks together. You couldn't start a fire if I gave you a fucking lighter, my guy. Shut up, Flock. Right? Like, so I was like, shut your mouth, shut up. Right? But then when Hanji jumps in the river with Levi, I'm like, okay, Levi's definitely alive. But the interesting thing is that not only is Levi alive, Zeke is alive, which I was like, okay, I kind of had a feeling, like, I was like, there's no way one of them is good, like, either of them is dead. I had a feeling, like, that Levi would be alive, but it seemed kind of hard for me to believe that Zeke would make that, but he did, because he's Zeke. And Zeke is one of those cases where it's like, oh, he's a beautiful bastard to me. Because Zeke is, like, I love and hate this man so much, because Zeke is directly responsible for my husbando's death. Zeke is not only the catalyst for them being there, but is also the one who killed him. So very big mix of emotions because Zeke is entertaining as hell. You know, like it's hard for me to be mad at Zeke. He's one of those characters. So when he crawled out of the friggin' Titan, I was like, "Are you shitting me?" Right? And he crawled out and he looks better than he did before. And I'm like, what is going on? Right? And then when they ask, like, what happened, right? Zeke's like, when I opened my eyes, I didn't recognize where I was, and there was a girl building my body out of soil. And I'm sitting there like, is this a metaphor? What are you talking about? But then it shows it, and I'm like, oh. Okay. Right? And it's like that weird place from the trailer, so I'm like, what is this? And then Zeke calls it the Paths. So I was like, the Paths? Like, I've definitely heard that name. There's certain names that when you cover Titan, whether you read the manga or not, there's certain things you're going to hear. And they said the Paths. And I was like, right. I've heard that name. I don't super remember what it means, but I know the Paths, right? So I'm like, okay, the Paths. So it's like an actual place you can go. Here I was thinking it was like a metaphysical thing, but it's like, no, it's a place you go. And there's like that big light beam thing. I don't know. The paths look kind of weird, I'm not gonna lie. But visually speaking, it was super cool. But the paths, like, in a literal sense, I'm a little bit more confused by. But I did think, like, visually speaking, it was just super cool. And it's nice to have Zeke back, even though he's a bastard. Because I can't really picture the show without him at this point. Like, I feel like Zeke will probably only die at, like, the tail end, if you ask me. Again, I'm anime only. I don't know these things. And please keep manga spoilers to a minimum. But I can't really see Zeke dying until, like, the tail end. Because, like, he's too interesting of a character. He's way too entertaining. I mean, for crying out loud, he's voiced by Dio. So, I mean, come on. All right, so, like, it's hard for me to not at least like Zeke a little bit, right? Even though he killed my boy. There's certain characters that I'm like, you killed my boy. And for that, you gotta go, right? Either you killed my boy, or you're just an absolute, like, piece of and you gotta go, right? It's one of the two. And with Zeke, it's like, well, you killed my boy. So for that, you gotta pay. For that, you gotta pay. At some point, Zeke, you owe me, right? I'm like Ryuk. At some point, I'm gonna write your name in my death note. Okay, like at some point that shit's gonna happen. But for now, the last thing I want to talk about is the scouts. So when shit starts hitting the fan, when Eren starts to lose, Onyang Capone realizes, like, oh shit, things are really bad. We need the scouts. So he runs down to release the scouts and asks for their help. And I'm not gonna lie, Onyang Capone is a character that I actually feel for. He's in a tough spot, right? Because it's like, if he doesn't listen to Yelena, she'll just shoot him right there. She don't give a shit, right? But at the same time, he did truly, I think anyway, come to care for the scouts in some way. So betraying them really hurt him, right? And Connie, like, screams at him over it, right? Like, look, rightfully so. Like, if you're Connie, I get it. Connie just grabs him and is like, you're asking for our help, right? And he just pins him to the wall and he's like, do you have any idea how many times I've been betrayed the last few years, right? Like, if you're Connie, think about it. It's been Annie, Bert, Reiner, and now Eren, and then Onyang Capone. So it's like, this man is getting betrayed left and right, you know? Like, it's... He doesn't even know where he can turn. Not to mention Nico as well. Like, so it's like Niccolo betraying him. Like, you know, like people. Connie's getting betrayed left and right. People like Connie is like the sweetest bean in this whole thing. You know, like Connie and Jean at this point are like my favorite characters left standing. So it's like these two. It's like, if you're Connie, man, like you're just done. You know, you've seen all the chaos. And you're just done. You're just ready to give up, right? Like that's just it. And if you don't remember from last season, or if you're new, hi, I'm JoJo. My favorite characters are the Scouts. I'm always gonna be Team Scout. I don't care what the Scouts are doing. I'm usually gonna be Team Scout. The only time I ever doubted the Scouts was the attack on Marley, because that shit was crazy. But yeah, I'm usually Team Scouts. And I'm kind of Team Eren just a little bit, but like more so in like a hesitantly. Team Eren, because I want to believe in my boy, but like, can we really? You know, like there's that scene, right, where Armin tries to stand up for Eren, and everybody's just shaking their heads, you know, like everybody's like, what are you talking about, right? Because like Armin refuses to believe that Eren actually wants to like euthanize the people of Paradise, right? Like, he's like, no, of course he doesn't want to do that. And they're like, okay, well then why is he working with them? And Armin's like, well, because he doesn't have to not work with them, right? He has the Founding Titan. Why would he not? He has extra forces this way. Why would he not work with them? And it's like, look, Armin, man, I really want to believe you. I super do. But I don't know. The only thing I can think of, because Magath points this out, that like what the world needs now is a hero. And when they say, like, what the world needs now is a hero, they cut to Reiner versus Eren. And I'm like, Like, it felt like the show was trying to pitch that, like, Reiner is going to be this big hero. And I'm like, no, I think it's more like it's going to be Eren. But not in a heroic sense. I think Eren's going to be the thing that unites people, a la, like, Watchmen. Where, like, the world is uniting against a villain. Right, and that's like the one thing I can think of that Eren might be doing, like on purpose, like willingly falling on the sword himself to like protect Paradise and essentially save humanity. If that happens, that's pretty heavy. But Armin essentially tries to stand up for Eren, like saying that we don't know. Maybe he's doing what I just said. Maybe he's figuring something else out. Who knows? He's Eren, though. Like, we can still trust Eren. But everybody's sort of hesitant now. Like, too much has happened. Too much time's passed. It's hard to really, like, look at Eren and think he can even really be trusted anymore. And, like, I get it. You know? Like, it's hard to reconcile that. I will say, though, I like that Onyang Capone gets sort of taken in by the Scouts. Because Onyang Capone's, like, my favorite of, like, the Zeke characters. You know, like, Zeke's group. He's my favorite. I really like that character. So him joining the Scouts, I love. The only thing I will say is that between Niccolo and Sasha's family, I don't know if the Scouts are looking particularly strong right now. Because the only other members are like, yeah, we have like the Scouts, but like Hanji's way the hell off. Levi's like super badly hurt. The rest of the Scouts are like just got out of prison and they have to worry about Sasha's civilian parents and Niccolo, who barely knows how to defend himself. It's not looking good. So Onyang Capone joining the team, at least they have more numbers. But that's pretty much all my thoughts this week. There's a bunch that I could talk about. The fact that the OP absolutely slaps. It's one of the craziest, like Aaron walking on the walls, and the fact that it's called the Rumbling. Then you get the ED with like Aaron with a red scarf, and the scarf becomes a bird, and it gets trapped in a cage, and then the cage explodes, and everything's like destroyed and all like long forgotten, and it's crazy. This season's starting off right. And the battle continues next week. So, I'm excited. Let's try not to crash Crunchyroll again this time, though, okay? I would appreciate that. Because your boy is sick and I'm gonna go lay down. Okay, bye. And there you have it, everybody. That is gonna wrap it up for today's video. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to boop that up snoot, share if you care, leave a comment down below, and of course, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and set notifications to all. Let all of AnyTube know that you are here. And if you haven't done so already, go ahead and check out our Discord so that you can actually be notified when new videos go up. And of course, you'll also be notified when we're streaming over on the other website that starts with a T. On top of being the best way to get notified for new videos, it's also a good place to discuss with fellow anime fans and stuff like that. So if that sounds cool to you, go ahead and join us over on the Discord, link down in the description. Also linked to the description is our Patreon page, and that, along with the join button right beside the sub button, are great ways to help keep this channel afloat. You will find our Patreon page for as little as $1. You can help keep this channel running. And of course, a big thank you I have to give to our masters of masters, the true legends: Asaki VT, Elizabeth Just Elizabeth, JCran23, Jeremy P, Matt87 Eagle, Shadow Creative, Shiorans, Stephen G, Stevie W, Trapmaster, Trevor W, and Tristan G. Thank you all so much for being so freaking cool. I really love and appreciate all of you guys for your tremendous support of this channel. And if you too would like to have your name shouted out at the end of videos, once again, go check out that Patreon link in the description or hit the join button right beside the sub button. Either way helps out a ton. And that's it for me. So until next time, clean your room. Just trust me, a clean room is a clean mind. Maybe do some Tai Chi. Drink lots of water and brush your teeth. And yeah, have a good day. Bye.